Welcome back to Living in Kigali. Before the break, we were talking about what it is that Patrick and Martha do, and they described the Kigali's professional space as interesting. Now, I want to get deeper into that. What more is there? I know there's a lot that goes on that prevents young people from aspiring to do great things, you know? So, starting with you, Martha, what are the interesting things that
I saw this coming.
Right.
Like I said, I think what I meant by interesting could be both ways, right? And as much as I'm appreciative of the many things that are happening, I do feel like for the professionals or young professionals in Kigali, there's a gap in how various organizations, not to speak for any specific one.
We're not pointing fingers. Right.
That there is a gap in, it's often many young people who make it to those levels have had to bootstrap it and have to, invest in their own learning, which, to be honest, is not bad, right? But I feel like organizations could do a great job in, pushing a little bit more in trainings and not just surface level, like we think you should think about inclusion, but in a way that is more, deeper and it's contextualized to maybe your role. Because if I'm being honest, when you really look at it, we're no longer doing, yes, there's a technical, right? Because you can master the technical, but the soft skills, right? How do you communicate? How do you, engage in, how do you engage, higher level stakeholders? Right. For example, I work in private sector and we often have to engage with government, right? There's a skill to speaking to a government official. Not that there's, it's not that complicated, but nobody really teaches you that. Sometimes you have to learn it the hard way. And so I feel like with like managers and people in certain roles that are slightly above, maybe junior staff, there's not a lot of resources right now, in my experience and my observation, that support young people when they're starting out, when they're still at the junior roles. They have to bootstrap it to kind of stand out.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you spoke about interacting with the government officials and whatnot. Do you feel like you sometimes have to code switch in order to make sense to them?
Definitely. And I actually respect that. I don't think that it's always like a smooth ride, right? People understand different languages, right? And ultimately people want to be heard, right? And so it's not so much about just the government officials. It could very well be somebody from the UN, they have a different language. Right. So you want to understand that because there's nuances to different, his sectors, the development, worlds, they speak a different language to the public sector, to the private sector, and so you have to understand that. And in coming into a role, you don't understand that.
Yeah, it's
you need a manager or somebody senior.
Skill.
Right. You need somebody to teach you that, and that's just an example of the many skills that we kind of miss out on and have to learn the hard way. Right. On the job.
The hard way.
She tried saying everything, right?
Right. What's left? Let's see.
I think just to highlight one thing that I'm more interested in. He speaks about trying to have all these, programs, train the youth, give them these soft skills and all that. I'm more interested in seeing the youth shape most of these programs. Can we engage them a little bit more meaningfully so that they design the program, then they can own them. I wouldn't really love to continuously see that they're all the people designing things for us. They are people. No, but that doesn't work for us.
They don't understand
how we operate. They don't understand our realities, our aspirations, our perspectives. So I'm saying, let's have as many more young people put their brains in designing these systems.
Right. Letting young people do that is one thing, but like, what are these organizational cultures? How do they look like? Are they receptive of these young people pitching in their ideas?
Well, I'm not going to say yes or no. I will leave you at that. So
he's being political.
I can play the cards.
Very political, if you ask
Look
me.
at this. I'm not pointing fingers. But
right.
Some organizations are really open because we know the future is for young people. You're not going to be having, if you're, I'm sorry to say, but if you're 8 years old right now, 7 years old, you're not going to be there in the next 50 years or so. You're not going to be witnessing the big force that coming through, But then how are they being, engaged? There's what we call tokenistic engagement. Like, we just put you here simply to show that, we're having people that are about 50 years old, and then we're having a few other individuals that are about, are slightly below 30 years old. And what happens with that is like, the people that are 50 are the ones making all the decisions, and these ones simply following, Right. But then I want us to shift. Right? So I want us to shift the dynamics. Can we have these young people actually influence the thinking of these other people.
Okay.
Because these ones are bound to last, and then whatever we're doing right now,
Right.
these young people are going to be they'll either bear the consequences or they'll benefit from whatever we design right now. So let's have them at the forefront.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like what he said about, you know, getting young people to kind of be involved in the design of policies and the things that influence culture in the work, you know, generally, right? I feel like oftentimes you have this aspect of design thinking is very, well, non-existent in a nutshell. In many cases, I'm in the private sector. Not that I can say what I want, but I can try to be honest.
Right.
Design thinking is a concept where you start by, you know, empathizing. You start to understand the problem, right? And if you're looking at somebody who's 60, 50, they lived a different reality, right? As a young person than we're living right now. And so for them to design a program or a solution or, you know, anything for that matter that has to impact me, even my sister who's maybe 13 years or 10 years younger than me, it's very different, right? So having me or my sister at the table to kind of talk through, you know, what is it that I need, what is it I'm experiencing as my realities goes a long way. So I like that. I like that.
So
what you're
how do we take up
working on.
space?
Wow.
Yeah.
Just dropped it. Just like that.
I had to.
Dropped the bomb.
How do we take our space? I think there are a lot of things involved in this. One, are young people willing to take up the space? And then are the systems in place facilitating young people to take up the spaces?
Okay.
So the first thing, are we passionate even about it? But like, we speak about, because I'm more engaged perhaps policy and that's associated with politics. Most people think politics for a certain class of people, right? So I'm saying, can we show young people the right side of things? If we say policy, we're not speaking about politics mainly because if you're having food on your plate, there is a policy that determines either for you to have that plate with food or to tell nothing. If you're looking for a job today, there is a policy somewhere that is being made either to allow you to have the job or never, right? So we can look at things from those points of view. It's not about politics. And then the systems in place are the policies that have already been created, facilitating welcoming young people to freely come and actually engage. If let's say we're speaking about tokenism and you know vis-a-vis meaningful engagement. So if you're not pulling young people in, if you're pulling young people and then the ones you're pulling in are not really a representation of the actual young people in the country, then definitely there's an error. So we can bring in young people that are representation of the rest of the people, then they can be able now to shape the policies for the rest of the young people in a proper way, and we can be able to take out the spaces.
Yeah, I like the relationship between what he's saying and what I met as my experience working as a professional here, is that when you actually design a program that understands the needs of young people, that is inclusive and understanding of their needs, it is definitely going to have to push you to upskill them and you know, offer them the capacity development, right, that they need to step into those roles. Because I mean, one of the things that I actually love about my country is that we actually, you know, call young people into big offices, you know, and then I think, did they get the training to, you know, like. It has to be matched.
That makes sense,
and I'm not saying that they're not trained. I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying that when you every single step up, every role you take on has specific requirements. You know, a certain headspace you need to be in. You know, a certain skills that you need to kind of bump up on. You know, that need you to kind of. So you need that to match with the office. So that's my point.
It's a heavy segment, right? I'll segue into the next break, which is the Kigali Shortcut experience. And as we get back, we'll be wrapping up this conversation and talking more about the different policies that we young people could, you know, lobby for, and also talking about, you know, like issues that we young people are creating for ourselves and then claiming the government is not doing anything for us. I'll see you right after the break.